She promised to make him feel alive again, but never thought love would cost her goodbye. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our emotional stories about love, redemption, and second chances. It is completely free and truly helps us bring you more heartfelt films just like this one. Today's story is about a young nurse who takes a job caring for a paralyzed millionaire who has lost all hope until her kindness gives him a reason to live again. Your support means the world to us. Tell us where you are watching from in the comments below. And now, let us return to our main character. The fluorescent lights hum softly above the polished floors of Westbridge Private Hospital. The air smells faintly of antiseptic and rain carried in from the open windows. Anna Monroe, a 26-year-old nurse, walks down the quiet corridor holding a sealed medical file to her chest. Her reflection in the glass walls moves beside her, pale and unsure, like a shadow of the woman she once was. She stops at a door engraved with gold letters. Dr. Harris, head of neurology. Come in, a calm voice calls from inside. Dr. Harris stands near the window, his posture sharp, his tone steady. Anna, he says, I have a patient who needs someone with patience and heart. But this case is not easy. Anna frowns slightly. What kind of patient, doctor? He nods toward the folder in her hands. Grant Carter, 32 years old, CEO of Carter Enterprises. A year ago, a car crash left him paralyzed and unresponsive. He refuses therapy and has sent away 6 nurses already. The family no longer visits. He has given up. Anna studies the file, her pulse quickening at the name. Grant Carter, the youngest millionaire in the state, once known for his sharp mind and cold ambition, now reduced to silence and stillness. Dr. Harris sighs. You do not have to accept this. He does not make it easy for anyone. Anna looks up, her eyes steady. I will take it. The doctor raises an eyebrow. May I ask why? She hesitates for a moment before answering. Because once, I stayed silent when someone needed me the most. I cannot do that again. Come on. That evening, the elevator doors slide open on the top floor. The corridor is dim and hushed, filled with the low hum of machines. The plaque on the final door reads Suite 701. Anna takes a slow breath and steps inside. The room looks more like a luxury apartment than a hospital suite, chandeliers glowing low, dark oak furniture polished to perfection, curtains drawn halfway over the city lights. In the center of it all lies Grant Carter. His face is pale but strong, his expression peaceful yet distant, as if he is suspended somewhere between life and sleep. Anna approaches quietly. Good evening, Mr. Carter, she says softly. My name is Anna Monroe. I will be your nurse from today. Silence answers her. Only the steady rhythm of the heart monitor fills the air. She notices a black radio on the bedside table covered in dust. She wipes it clean and presses the power button. A soft piano melody drifts out alive. There, she murmurs. A little music might help. The sound fills the room with gentle warmth. Anna adjusts his blanket and watches his still face for a moment longer. Then just barely his fingers twitch, a movement so faint she almost doubts it. She freezes, heart skipping a beat. Nothing follows. Anna exhales slowly and smiles. That is all right, Mr. Carter. I will be here again tomorrow. Maybe you will listen then. She lowers the lights and steps out into the hallway. Behind her, the song Alive continues to play, echoing softly through the silence like the beginning of something that neither of them can yet name. The next morning, sunlight spills through the tall windows of Suite 701. Dust particles dance in the golden light as the faint rhythm of the heart monitor fills the quiet room. Anna steps inside, holding a tray with a fresh set of medical supplies and a small vase of white daisies she picked up from a vendor outside the hospital. She sets them on the bedside table, right beside the radio that still hums with a soft tune. Good morning, Mr. Carter, she says with a calm smile. It is another beautiful day outside. You would not believe how clear the sky looks. She checks his vitals, makes notes on the chart, and adjusts the drip with careful precision. Everything about him remains still, except for the quiet strength in his breathing. She watches his chest rise and fall and wonders what his world feels like now, if he still dreams, if he still hears. Days pass in a gentle rhythm. Morning rounds, medication, music, conversation, even if it is only one-sided. Each time she enters, she speaks to him as if he is awake, describing the color of the sky, the smell of the cafeteria coffee, or the sound of rain against the glass. By the end of the first week, the staff begin to notice small changes. The machines show a slight increase in neural activity. Dr. Harris mentions it in a briefing, skeptical but intrigued. It might be coincidence, he says, but his brain is showing more response than before. Anna only nods, though deep down, she believes it is not coincidence. She has begun to feel something intangible, an invisible thread between them, fragile but real. That evening, while cleaning the room, she speaks again, her tone almost playful. "You know, Mr. Carter, I read that people in comas can still hear voices, so I will keep talking. Maybe it helps, maybe it annoys you, but I will not stop." Her laughter echoes softly against the walls. She adjusts his blanket and hums along to the music. The melody from the radio becomes her daily ritual, one constant note of warmth in a room that has forgotten what life feels like. Then, one night, something changes. It is close to midnight when she returns for her last check. The corridor is empty, the hospital quiet. The lights in his room glow faintly, a soft amber hue. As Anna wipes the moisture from his forehead, she feels a subtle movement, a twitch beneath her fingers. Her breath catches. She stares at his hand. The fingers shift, slow but deliberate. "Grant?" she whispers, hardly realizing she has spoken his first name. No answer, only the steady rhythm of the monitor. Still, she feels it again, a faint pressure, his fingers brushing hers ever so slightly. Anna freezes in disbelief, then leans closer. "If you can hear me, move again," she says softly. The seconds stretch like hours. Nothing. Then, one slow pulse of movement. His hand grips hers, weak but certain. Tears fill her eyes before she can stop them. "It is all right," she whispers. "You are safe. You are here." The next morning she tells Dr. Harris about what happened. He listens, skeptical but curious. "We will run an EEG test," he says, "but do not get your hopes up too high, Anna. Sometimes reflexes can be misleading." Anna only nods. Yet in her heart, she already knows what the doctor cannot explain. She has seen the spark, the first sign that he is still in there, trying to reach out. Later that day, she sits beside him with a small notebook in hand. "I think we need to make a deal," she says gently. "I will keep talking, and you keep fighting. One word, one breath at a time. That is all I ask." The light in the room softens as the sun begins to set. The song "Alive" plays once again, its melody flowing through the quiet air. Anna looks at him and smiles faintly. "You may not be able to see it now," she whispers, "but I believe you are listening." Outside, the city fades into night. Inside Suite 701, a woman's voice and a fragile melody keep watch over a man who, for the first time in months, is beginning to find his way back to life. The following morning, the hospital feels different. The air carries a quiet hum of energy, as if something invisible has shifted. Anna arrives early, coffee in hand, her heart racing with cautious hope. When she enters Suite 701, the blinds are half open, and sunlight stretches across the floor in warm golden lines. The radio still plays softly in the background, the same song she turns on every day alive. She greets him as always. "Good morning, Mr. Carter. You missed another sunrise." Her voice fills the room like a small spark of warmth. She checks his pulse, smooths the blanket, and glances toward the heart monitor. The numbers remain steady. Nothing extraordinary, and yet everything about the moment feels alive. As she arranges the flowers, she notices something new. His eyelids flicker, just once. Then again, a little longer this time. Anna freezes, afraid to breathe. "Mr. Carter?" she whispers. "Can you hear me?" For a few seconds, there is only silence. Then, his head moves slightly, barely perceptible, but real. Her pulse quickens, tears forming instantly. "You are doing great," she says softly. "You are here. You are safe." The rest of the day moves like a dream. Dr. Harris confirms that his neural activity has spiked again. "It may be temporary," he warns, "but this is progress." Anna smiles to herself as she leaves his office. She knows what the doctor does, this is not temporary. Something inside Grant Carter is waking up. That evening, she returns to his room with a small speaker instead of the radio. "I thought you deserved better sound," she jokes lightly as she plugs it in. She plays a playlist she made herself, soft acoustic songs, mixed with the same piano melody that started it all. She pulls a chair closer to the bed and begins to read aloud from a book she found on the shelf. It is called The Art of Stillness, she explains. "I thought it might suit you." Her voice is calm, steady, and soothing. Halfway through the chapter, she pauses to take a sip of water. When she looks up, she notices something that makes her freeze again. His eyes are open. Not wide, not focused yet, but open. Her throat tightens. "Grant?" she whispers. His lips part slightly, a faint sound escaping hoarse, broken, but unmistakably human. "Where am I?" Anna's heart pounds in her chest. She sets down the book and leans closer. "You are in Westbridge Hospital. You have been here for almost a year. My name is Anna. I am your nurse." He blinks slowly, trying to understand, his gaze moving across the room as if seeing it for the first time. "I remember the crash," he murmurs weakly. "Everything after that is gone." "That is all right," she says quickly, holding his hand gently. "You are safe now. You are alive." For the first time in months, his eyes meet hers. There is confusion there, but also something fragile curiosity, maybe even trust. When Dr. Harris rushes in moments later, he can hardly believe it. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me clearly?" Grant nods faintly. His voice is weak but certain. "Yes." After the doctor leaves, Anna stays behind, her heart still trembling. She turns off the light, leaving only the soft glow from the city skyline. "You did well today," she says. "You fought your way back." He looks at her for a long moment, his voice rough but honest. "Thank you." Anna smiles. "Do not thank me yet. We have a long way to go." She adjusts the blanket once more and turns the music back on. The familiar notes of Alive fill the silence. Grant closes his eyes, and for the first time sleep looks peaceful. As she stands by the window, watching the city lights below, Anna whispers to herself, "Welcome back, Mr. Carter." Somewhere deep inside, she knows this is only the beginning. What started as a duty has become something far more powerful, a fragile connection between two broken souls learning how to live again. Over the next several weeks, the rhythm of Suite 701 changes completely. The steady hum of the machines remains, but now it blends with laughter, soft music, and conversation. The staff in the hallway begin to notice it too, the sound of life slowly returning to the room everyone once avoided. Anna keeps her promise to visit every day, even on her days off. Each morning she brings a book, a story, or a joke, anything that might make him respond. Grant listens quietly at first, his words still slow, his movements limited, but each day he grows stronger. When she helps him with therapy, she speaks to him as if every motion matters. "You are doing well," she says gently as she guides his hand to grasp a cup. His fingers tremble. The cup rattles against the table, but he manages to hold it for 3 full seconds. She smiles like he has just won a race. "It is ridiculous how proud you look," he says in a dry whisper, his tone faint but amused. "I am proud," she answers. "You just held a cup, Mr. Carter. That is a big deal." He lifts an eyebrow weakly. "Grant, you can stop calling me mister." She laughs. "All right, Grant. But if I say that, you have to call me Anna." He nods once, the corners of his mouth turning up just slightly. "Fair trade, hun." The room feels lighter that day, filled with a warmth that neither of them notices growing between the lines of small talk and laughter. Later that week, during a physical therapy session, Grant surprises everyone. He manages to move his leg an inch on his own. The therapist cheers softly, but it is Anna's face that lights up the most. She claps her hands, tears gathering in her eyes. "I told you it was possible," she says, smiling. He looks at her, breathing hard, his voice low. "You really believe in miracles, do you?" She pauses. "I did not. Not until I met you." From that day forward, Grant begins to change in small but noticeable ways. He asks to keep the curtains open during the day. He asks what music is playing. Sometimes he even asks about her, where she grew up, what she does when she is not in the hospital. One afternoon, as the sky turns orange behind the window, he says softly, "You talk about the world like it is something I have never seen. Louche." She smiles, placing a vase of daisies by his bed. "Maybe you just forgot what it looked like." He looks at her, and for a brief second, something unspoken passes between them. A few days later, Dr. Harris meets Anna in the hallway. "Whatever you are doing in there, keep doing it," he says. "His recovery is far beyond what we expected." That night, she stays later than usual. Grant is sitting up slightly, supported by pillows, the radio playing a low tune in the background. She reads to him from a novel, her voice steady and soft. After a while, he interrupts her. "Do you ever get tired of it, talking to people who may not listen?" She looks up from the page. "All the time," she admits. "But I do it anyway. Because one day, someone does listen." He studies her face, the way her eyes catch the faint light. "You really are different, Anna." She shrugs lightly. "Maybe, or maybe I just do not like giving up." "Mo." When she gets up to leave, he says her name for the first time, not as a patient, but as a man who finally feels alive. "Good night, Anna." She stops at the door, her heart tightening. "Good night, Grant." As she steps into the hallway, she glances back once more. He is still watching her, the faintest smile on his face. Inside Suite 701, the song Alive plays quietly, no longer as a reminder of what was lost, but as a promise of what might still be found. Weeks turn into months, and Grant's progress becomes the quiet miracle that no one at Westbridge Hospital can ignore. He now sits upright for hours, practices moving his arms, and speaks in complete sentences. The cold, silent room that once felt like a tomb now feels like a place of light. Anna continues to arrive early every morning. She brings him breakfast from the cafeteria, even though he insists he can order his own now. "Humor me," she says with a grin. "You need something that is not a protein shake." He shakes his head but takes the food anyway. "You are impossible." "Maybe," she answers, "but you are eating, and that is progress." They fall into a comfortable rhythm, one that feels more like friendship than duty. The hospital staff begin whispering that the famous Grant Carter smiles now, something he had not done for almost a year. One afternoon, while Anna helps him stretch his legs, he looks at her with quiet sincerity. "You never told me why you became a nurse?" She pauses for a moment, her hands still on the exercise bands. "Because I once watched someone give up," she says softly, "and I swore I would never let it happen again." He studies her face, realizing for the first time that her kindness is not naivete. It is courage disguised as gentleness. "You saved me," he says simply. She shakes her head. "You saved yourself, I just reminded you how." Card. From that day on, Grant begins asking for time outside his room. Anna pushes his wheelchair through the hospital gardens, and together they watch the sunset behind the tall buildings. The air smells like cut grass and rain. For him, it is the first time in months he has felt wind on his face. "It is strange," he says quietly. "Everything feels new, even the things I used to ignore." "That is what happens when you decide to live again," she replies. Their walks become a daily ritual. She reads aloud under the trees while he listens with his eyes closed. Sometimes he tells her about his company, the empire that once defined him, and how meaningless it felt after the accident. One evening, as they return to his room, Grant says, "I keep thinking I owe you something." "A job, maybe?" "You could work for me when I get out of here." Anna laughs softly. "I do not need a job, Grant. I just want to see you walk again." He smiles, a rare, genuine smile. "Then that will be my gift to you." Days later, during a therapy session, Grant takes his first unaided step with her by his side. The staff cheer quietly from the doorway, but Anna only stares at him with tears in her eyes. "You did it," she whispers. He steadies himself, breathing hard, still holding her hand. "No," he says, "we did it." That night, after everyone leaves, he asks her to turn the radio on. The song Alive fills the room once again. Grant looks at her, his eyes bright and certain. "Anna," he says softly, "do you ever wonder why some people are sent into our lives?" She hesitates. "All the time." He reaches for her hand, his grip weak but full of intent. "Then maybe you were sent to remind me that life is not about how much time we have, but what we do with it." For a long moment, neither of them speaks. The lights dim to a soft glow, the song fading to its final notes. Outside the window, the city glitters against the night sky. Inside Suite 701, the quiet bond between them deepens, not spoken in words but in the steady rhythm of two hearts learning to beat again. The next few weeks bring a calm rhythm that feels almost ordinary. Grant continues his therapy with determination, and Anna is always there, steady, patient, and quietly proud. Every day begins the same way. The sound of the heart monitor, the scent of fresh flowers, and the soft music that now defines Suite 701. Grant no longer needs full-time care, but he insists that Anna stay assigned to him. The doctors do not argue. Everyone knows that his recovery has more to do with her presence than any treatment plan. One morning, while Anna helps him practice walking, he says, "You know, if you keep showing up this early, people will think you actually enjoy my company." Lumtar. She smiles. "Maybe I do." He laughs quietly, surprised by how natural it feels. It has been a long time since laughter came easily. They take small steps across the room, his arm resting on her shoulder for balance. "Slower," she reminds him. "It is not a race." "For a man who used to run an empire, this feels like a marathon," he says, breathing heavily but smiling. When they reach the chair, she helps him sit down carefully. He looks out the window, eyes following the streaks of morning light across the city skyline. "I used to watch that view every morning from my penthouse," he says. It felt powerful back then. Now it just feels peaceful. Anna places a cup of water on the table beside him. Maybe peace is what you were missing all along. He nods slowly, her words settling deep. You may be right. In the afternoons, they begin spending time in the hospital garden. Grant wheels himself along the path, while Anna walks beside him, reading messages from patients she once cared for. Sometimes, he tells her stories about his childhood, how his father built the company from nothing, how he spent his life trying to live up to that name. One evening, as the sun sinks low, painting the sky in gold, Grant says, "When I am discharged, I want to start something new, something that matters." Anna looks at him curiously. What do you have in mind? He glances toward the other patients scattered through the garden, some sitting in silence, some struggling to walk again. A foundation, he says softly. A place for people who are rebuilding their lives. Maybe we can help them remember what hope feels like. Anna smiles. That sounds beautiful. He looks at her for a long moment. Not we, he says gently. You. You are the reason I remembered. The silence that follows feels warm and fragile. She looks away, her cheeks flushed, but her voice is steady. Then let us build it together. Back in his room, as night falls, Anna adjusts his blanket and turns on the familiar song Alive. The melody fills the quiet space with comfort. Grant leans back, listening, his voice low. You brought this song the first day you came in. I hated it at first. She laughs softly. I know. You looked like you wanted to throw the radio at me. Ardar. And now, he says, smiling faintly. It feels like breathing. Their eyes meet, the air between them heavy with unspoken truth. He reaches for her hand. You did what no doctor could do. You made me want to live. She squeezes his hand gently. You made the choice yourself. I only reminded you that life is still worth the effort. As she leaves the room that night, Grant watches her go, his heart full of something he has not felt in a long time, gratitude mixed with something deeper. The song Alive continues to play softly behind her, carrying his silent promise into the quiet hallway. He will live, not because he must, but because she taught him how. Autumn settles over the city, painting the hospital courtyard in shades of gold and amber. Grant has been walking short distances on his own for weeks now. The staff watch him with quiet pride as he moves through the hallway with slow but steady steps. The change in him is impossible to ignore. His eyes are brighter, his voice stronger, his laughter now a daily sound. But something else begins to change too. The more he heals, the more Anna feels a strange ache she cannot name. Each day brings him closer to leaving the hospital, and the thought fills her with both joy and fear. She reminds herself that this is what she wanted, to see him stand on his own again. Yet deep down, she knows that when he walks out of this place, she will lose something irreplaceable. One morning, Grant asks her to join him for coffee in the hospital garden. The air is crisp, the trees already shedding leaves. He sits across from her, dressed not in hospital clothes but in a simple sweater and slacks. It is the first time he has looked like himself again. I spoke with Dr. Harris, he says. He thinks I will be discharged next week. Anna forces a smile. That is wonderful, Grant. You deserve it. He studies her expression carefully. You say that like you are trying to convince yourself. She laughs softly, avoiding his eyes. Maybe I am. I'm just so used to seeing you here. He reaches across the table, his hand brushing hers. You will still see me. The foundation is happening, Anna. I want you there with me. You belong in it more than anyone. Her breath catches. You do not need me anymore, Grant. You can hire anyone for that. Doda. I do not want anyone, he says simply. I want you. The silence that follows feels too big for the space between them. She pulls her hand back slowly, her voice steady but quiet. You should focus on your recovery. Do not make promises you may regret later. He looks at her with something close to frustration. Why do you keep doing that? You talk about hope, about fighting back, but when it comes to you, you build walls higher than anyone I have ever met. Her voice trembles now, because I know what it feels like to lose someone you tried to save. He sits back, the realization sinking in. That is what this is really about, is it not? She nods faintly. I could not save my last patient. He ended his life while I was on duty. I told myself I would never get that close again. Grant's expression softens. Anna, you saved me. She shakes her head. No, you saved yourself. I was just there to remind you that life can still be beautiful. Oh. Neither of them speaks for a long time. The wind carries fallen leaves across the path, the sound crisp against the stone. When Grant finally speaks, his voice is low. When I leave here, I will not forget what you did. But I need you to believe something. What we have is real, whether or not you want to call it that. Her eyes fill with tears, but she forces a smile. Then promise me one thing. Whatever happens next, keep living. Keep doing what you said you would. He nods slowly. I promise. That night, when she returns to his room for the last check of the day, the radio is already playing Alive. Grant is sitting by the window, watching the city lights. She stops at the door, memorizing the image the man who once wanted to die, now looking at the world as if it is brand new. She whispers softly, "You kept your promise." He turns to her and smiles, "And I intend to keep making new ones." Yut? For the first time, she realizes that letting him go will be part of her own healing. The melody drifts through the air, tender and unbroken, as the night settles over the hospital that brought them both back to life. A week later, the morning sun spills through the tall hospital windows for the last time. Grant stands beside his bed, dressed in a tailored gray suit, a far cry from the frail man who once lay motionless beneath the same light. Anna helps him adjust the collar of his shirt, her fingers trembling slightly as she fastens the last button. "You look like yourself again," she says quietly. He smiles. "I feel like myself again, because of you." Downstairs, the staff gathers to say goodbye. Cameras flash. Reporters wait near the lobby, eager to see the millionaire who defied every medical prediction. But Grant only looks at Anna. The rest of the world fades to noise. Before stepping into the waiting car, he leans close and whispers, "You said I should keep living. That is what I intend to do, and I am not doing it without you." She forces a smile, her voice gentle but firm. "Go, Grant. Start your life again. That is what we both wanted." He looks at her for a long moment, as if memorizing every detail, then turns and walks away. The automatic doors close behind him, and for the first time in months, Suite 701 stands empty. The following days feel quieter than she expected. Anna continues her shifts, checking on new patients, performing the same routines, but the silence inside her feels heavier than any hospital room. She tells herself this is how it should be. Healing means letting go. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrives. The envelope is ivory, embossed with the familiar Carter Enterprises insignia. Inside is a simple handwritten note. "Anna, you once told me that living means doing something that matters. I have decided to build the foundation we talked about. Its name is Alive, for obvious reasons. The opening ceremony is in 2 weeks, and I want you there. You said I do not need you anymore, but the truth is, I do. I cannot start this without you. Grant." Anna reads the letter 3 times before setting it down. The words pull at something deep inside her, something she thought she had learned to quiet. 2 weeks later, she arrives at the new Alive Rehabilitation and Hope Center. The building stands tall and bright, surrounded by gardens and wide glass windows that reflect the morning light. Grant greets her at the entrance, standing without a cane, his movements sure and graceful. "I told you I would build it," he says with a smile. She laughs softly. "I did not think you meant this soon." Inside, the lobby is filled with patients and volunteers. Laughter echoes from every corner. Anna looks around in awe. The space feels warm, alive, and full of hope. On the wall behind the reception desk hangs a plaque engraved with words that make her heart tighten. "For those who forgot how to live, may you find your reason again." Grant notices her tears and steps closer. "You inspired that." She shakes her head. "No, you did this, Grant. You are the miracle here." He studies her for a moment before speaking. "There is something else." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a folded note. "I kept this from the hospital. It was in the drawer beside my bed." She opens it and sees the small handkerchief she once used to clean his radio, embroidered with her initials AM. The fabric is slightly worn, but still carries the faint scent of hospital soap. "I kept it," he says softly, "to remind me of the day everything changed." Anna's voice trembles. "You did not have to." "I did," he replies, "because that was the day I decided to live again." Kungwan. They stand there for a long moment, surrounded by the hum of life they both fought to reclaim. The past feels like a distant echo, replaced by the quiet truth between them, 2 people who met in a place of brokenness and built something whole. As they walk through the garden, sunlight warms the path beneath their feet. The song Alive plays faintly from a speaker somewhere nearby, carried by the breeze. Grant looks at her and says simply, "We are finally home." A year passes, and the Alive Rehabilitation and Hope Center becomes everything they dreamed it would be. The building hums with quiet purpose each day, patients learning to walk again, families reuniting, laughter echoing through halls that once knew only silence. Grant's story spreads beyond the city, inspiring others who had lost faith in recovery. But he never lets interviews or headlines take credit away from where it belongs. When asked how he survived, his answer is always the same. I met someone who reminded me that hope is an action, not a feeling. That someone is Anna. She now runs the daily care program at the center, working with nurses and volunteers who look to her for guidance. Patients often say she has a gift. Her presence alone makes them believe healing is possible. Grant watches her from a distance most days, the same quiet admiration in his eyes that he had in the hospital. On the first anniversary of the center, the main hall is decorated with flowers and candles. People gather to celebrate the lives that have been changed. Grant stands at the podium, wearing the same gray suit he wore the day he left the hospital. Anna stands beside him, holding a small box wrapped in silver paper. He clears his throat before speaking. A year ago, I could not imagine standing here. I could not imagine walking, smiling, or even wanting another day. But one person refused to let me give up. She showed me that living is not about perfection or control. It is about connection. He gestures for Anna to join him. The crowd applauds softly as she steps forward, her cheeks flushed. Anna Monroe, he continues, you gave me my life back, and I would like to spend the rest of that life proving that it was worth saving. Gasps and whispers ripple through the room as he opens the small box in his hand. Inside lies a simple silver ring, engraved with one word, alive. Anna's eyes fill with tears. For a moment, the noise of the room disappears. It is only him and her, the same two souls who once met in silence under hospital lights. Grant, she says softly, you do not owe me anything. He smiles, shaking his head. I know, but I want to share everything anyway. The audience falls completely still as she nods, her voice barely a whisper. Yes. The applause rises, warm and sincere. Cameras flash, but Grant and Anna hardly notice. He slips the ring onto her finger and whispers, you once promised to make me feel alive again. You did. And now, it is my turn to keep you alive in love, in purpose, in every moment that we have left. Later that evening, after everyone has gone, they walk together through the garden behind the center. The air is cool, the sky deep blue with scattered stars. From a window, the familiar melody of Alive drifts softly through the air. Anna leans against him and smiles. It feels like that first night at the hospital. He nods. Except this time, we are both awake. They stop near the fountain, where the engraved plaque gleams faintly under the moonlight. For those who forgot how to live, may you find your reason again. Grant takes her hand and says, you were mine. The music swells gently in the background as they stand together, the lights of the center glowing behind them like a promise fulfilled. Two people who began as strangers in despair now share a single truth: love does not just heal, it restores life itself. And under that quiet sky where it all began, they keep their final promise to live, fully and fearlessly, for the rest of their days.